I'm here with Rachel Shukert at the Second Avenue Deli, where we just dined on, would you have pastrami?
I had pastrami, yeah, hot pastrami.
Delicious.
Very delicious.
And we're going to talk about her new book, Have You No Shame, and Other Regrettable Stories. Well, first I want to know, how did the book come about?
Well, you know, I've always sort of had all these stories in my head and told them over and over and over again to people. And, you know, this kind of opportunity came up. This editor had seen my work online and really, you know, got in touch. And he had this idea for another book, which was something I was much less interested in. It was all about like New Age healing practices or something. And I was like, okay, well, I'll try. So I wrote this whole book proposal, and I did this like sample chapter where I like dragged my husband to this like weird this tantric sex workshop at the Cap 21 like musical theater studios. There were like all these like gay kids like dancing around, singing like songs from like Starlight Express, and then we were like breathing into each other's genitals. It was really weird. And so I wrote this whole sample chapter, and then they called me in for a meeting, and they were like, well, we don't really like this idea for a book. We really like you, so what's the book that you would want to do? And my agent had told me they were going to say that the night before. She'd done some espionage. And suddenly like, she's like, you should have some kind of like other idea ready. And it was really strange because the whole book kind of took shape in my head in like 3 hours, where I just like wrote suddenly like this really skeleton outline and just had this really clear idea of like these stories and progression and like what I wanted to do. So it was really kind of one of those like eureka moments that like don't ever happen. And so I went in, you know, and they really liked the idea, and yeah, that's how that happened.
So my favorite part of the book is the footnotes, because there are two kinds of footnotes. There are some for the Goyim, which have a little cross and explain Jewish practices and history and cultural things, and then there are Nebraska footnotes, which have a little N, which have little bits of Nebraska history. How did you come up with those ideas? And also, I mean, in terms of the Christian or the whatever you want to call those footnotes, then do you feel like your book is mainly for Jews? Because it's very Jewish.
Yes, but it also seems to be really universal. Like, I got this email today from this guy who lives in rural Wyoming, who like somehow got like a thing, a copy of my book and wrote me. It was like, I love it. I felt like so connected to it, even though I'm Catholic and I've never really met a Jewish person. And I was like, that's great. You know, because I mean, with the footnotes too, I feel like I've mostly lived in two places. In Nebraska, where I constantly had to explain everything about being Jewish to people, and then here in New York, where I had to explain everything about Nebraska to people. So I thought I would kind of like cover those bases. And I think it's like, you know, while it definitely is like very Jewish, has a lot of that kind of humor, like I also think that like that sort of Jewish humor has just really like kind of become American humor. People are used to it. And there's a lot of universality in it too. Like I think everyone connects to feeling like you don't really belong in a place, or feeling kind of outside of yourself, or, you know, sort of going through these various like embarrassing periods in your life, or, you know, losing like a family member that you love. Like I think that there's a lot of like the specific lens of it is very Jewish, but I think the experiences are pretty universal. And the thing, you know, also like, and the footnotes I think were kind of like a nod to that, you know, like a sort of jokey nod to that, while like also being inclusive in that way, you know, like I always feel like my friends that are Gentiles always sort of pretend to know more about like Jewish things than they really do, because like it shows that they're cosmopolitan or something. So it's like, well, what if I actually tell you like what's actually behind it and actually like correct some of this stuff? You know, lift the veil a little bit. So, you know, I think it can appeal to both. I mean, I wouldn't. A lot of people that haven't Jewish or haven't really liked it, and, you know, a lot of people who are Jewish. I mean, I think.
Anything else?
Could I have another Dr. Brown, please?